Oh, hi. It's me, Matty. Oh, I'm just, killing some time out here. I'm really excited for DLC for the Outer Worlds, so I'm just, out here, like I said, killing time. And yeah, I'd love to know what Obsidian's doing next, so let's get into that discussion today. And if anyone from Obsidian's watching, just know this comes from a place of love, and I can be a patient boy, I promise. Normally when I finish a game, for a review especially, I'm pretty quick to move on to the next thing. I'm really not interested in returning to it outside of testing patches or the occasional DLC. But in the case of the Outer Worlds, this is something quite significant in a game that speaks to me in a very special way. It's a type of game I've wanted for a while, and I'm ready for more. So today we're going to get into all of the possible ways that Obsidian could expand their wonderful universe, looking at a lot of hidden bits of lore, analyzing the galaxy map, and so on. So buckle up, kiddos, because you're about to take a bumpy ride on Speculation Road. The main question, of course, lies in the fact that will Obsidian do little side stories with this DLC, or will they actually do what we saw in New Vegas, where everything, although it was separate location-wise, tied into the main story happening in Fallout New Vegas and built the world even more? I imagine the latter is more likely, but there are a lot of routes that they could really go with this DLC from what I've done via in-game investigation. I do encourage you to leave your ideas in the comments down below, but naturally, let's start at the galaxy map. Look at this map. Look at all this opportunity around me. You're telling me you can't do anything with all of this? Look at this, man. There's got to be something here. Now, this galaxy map is host to a lot of potential options for DLC. 2 of them, I personally believe, while the other 2 are not accessible thanks to the game's lore. We're going to read through all of them, and I'll pitch some ideas. We're going to start off with Hephaestus. Hephaestus is the closest planet to the sun. The Hephaestus Mining Company was first to establish outposts here, and as such, it has claimed the planet for itself. Now, there's no word saying that we cannot live there, that we cannot go there. In fact, it states the opposite, that people are living there. You do not visit this place in the main story whatsoever, no matter what route you take for the Outer Worlds. This was something that was confirmed by my audience as well as myself, as we've all been playing through the game, multiple routes. No one was able to go to Hephaestus, Typhon, Olympus, or Eridanos. So these planets were off limits, whether they're for building the world, a la, we'll say, God of War, where you had access to a lot of different regions. However, they were just there for lore purposes or discussion purposes or sequel bait, what have you. That's what they were mainly there for. So it's possible that's what's happening here in the Outer Worlds. But I think given that this game has been a real hit for Obsidian, it's quite obvious, I imagine they will take the route of DLC and expanding this world. Hephaestus could be one planet you could go to, although I'm not sure why you would. As I played through the game again, I really didn't hear much mention of Hephaestus, which could also support it or shoot down the idea of going there. Next is Typhon, an uninhabitable icy planetoid at the edge of the Halcyon system. Typhon has nothing to offer the Halcyon colony. Now, at first I thought, okay, that's clear as day, not any single way we could go there. Then I was reading some terminals on the Groundbreaker, and I found one right here that may hint that you can go to Typhon. Hi all, so I just got off ice from a round trip to Dashkova, which could maybe be a city or a settlement or some type of station at Typhon. 2 years out, 2 years back, so there is a long trip there. It is on the edge of the Halcyon colony, which would make sense. Imagine my surprise when we de-thawed, keyword de-thawed, frozen planet, and Groundbreaker comms told us our docking was going to be delayed. 1 hour turned into 5, then days went by, and in the end we spent an entire goddamn week waiting for the berth on this law-blanked bolt bucket. And because we were kicking our heels all that time, not one of us got paid, and the rest really does not matter. So the keywords here are de-thawed, we got off ice, 2 years out, 2 years back. So a long trip would make sense. On top of that, de-thawing would indicate the icy planet of Typhon. So it is possible to maybe go there if there is a connection here, although it's not stated. It is insinuated possibly, or Dashkova could be something entirely separate, but still something I did want to note about Typhon itself. The other 2 do seem like no-goes. We have Olympus, the largest of Halcyon's 2 Jovian gas giants. Perpetual storms rack the planet's atmosphere, rendering it uninhabitable. Furthermore, Eridanos is Halcyon's 2nd Jovian gas giant. Its atmosphere is rich with hydrogen, helium, and various noble gases. Distillation plants in the atmosphere harvest these gases for energy. So it does serve a purpose in the terms of world building more than pretty much any other planet that you cannot go to. But anyway, I think there are 2 options currently on the galaxy map that we could go to, and they do add a couple of things as the game progresses. One is for a companion storyline, the other is for the sublight company on the Groundbreaker. So keep all that in mind. Now, while we're on the planetary discussion, I do want to mention one possible idea. This is a little bit spoilery, so I will have a timestamp on screen right now that you can skip to go ahead into the discussion and avoid the rest of spoilers. This does involve a heavy endgame spoiler that I did mention in a previous video where I tried to connect Fallout New Vegas to the Outer Worlds universe. So we read yet another Groundbreaker terminal that says, urgently looking for a crew to sign on with. I've been stuck in Halcyon for almost a year now. Don't know what's holding up my next posting. Never had to wait this long to get on another freighter. I'd planned to take another one of the rare long hauls back to Earth, but I haven't been able to find any. And even the shorter skips to the inner worlds seem rarer than the outer world routes these days. So there is the possibility to go back to Earth, which I think, given the lore for the Outer Worlds, where comms have been dark from Earth for multiple years, you find out towards the end of the Outer Worlds story. So wouldn't it make sense for DLC to say, hey, let's go find out what's going on back at Earth? That could perfectly slot into the story when you find that out, a potential route to take. Although it would be a little strange because that DLC would be walled off until the end of the game. Still, I think it's a possible avenue, something that they could expand upon. Another idea I had for the DLC came while I was also on the Groundbreaker, and I walked into the Last Hope, which is a bar on this ship. And there were people playing darts, there were board games, and I believe at one point I heard an NPC mention a card game. And I just thought, given that Fallout New Vegas had Caravan, which actually is a much better card game than I think I ever expected since I started diving into it this year. I know, I'm a little late, but I think it would be pretty neat to see a small little expansion pack of mini games be added to the Outer Worlds to help build the world. If you heard NPCs referencing these mini games, like, hey, let's go play darts at the bar, and then you could actually hop in and play with them, I think that'd be kind of cool. Although it certainly wouldn't suffice quite like story expansions, world expansions would. The other idea, and the most likely one I think of this entire list outside of Obsidian naturally taking us to a new place and telling us a story, a la, we'll say, Old World Blues or Lonesome Road, is that they could actually give us new science weapons. And the way I came up with this idea wasn't actually my own. It was, in fact, Obsidian's idea. They said that possibly if people really liked the science weapons, they'd release more as DLC. In fact, they even go to the length of saying that they could easily add them into the game in this quote here, which to me indicates that maybe they have some extras ready on the back burner to add to the game over time. Now, I think that's thinking a little bit small. If you're just gonna do the science weapons as DLC, why not create a whole new area, create a story behind the science weapons, add them into the world that way? That is entirely possible. But we may have a situation that could be similar to Fallout 76 on our hands, where maybe Obsidian really doesn't want to just go out and make separate world DLC, but in fact expand the actual base game. And there certainly is room to expand the base game. I mean, like I said, we saw multiple planets you cannot go to right there on the galaxy map, 4 to be exact. There are more weapons you could add, there's mini games you could add. Certainly the game could build more despite how full it is. Now, for those who are curious on my guesses as to when Obsidian could announce more DLC coming, whether it be a roadmap or even confirming that no DLC is happening for the Outer Worlds, there is one particular platform coming up that could fit the bill quite well, and that's the Game Awards, the same place that the Outer Worlds was announced last year. So maybe they could come out on stage, they could talk about how they're bringing more DLC, maybe while they're collecting an award or two, because I feel like this game is up there at least for best RPG of the year, and then boom, DLC announcement. Now, I think that may be a little bit after the fact. The games industry is very quick to move on. Not everyone's like people here on my channel where we're obsessed with this game, we're loving it, we're wanting to talk about it constantly, we're excited for more. People itch for more a lot quicker, and I think Obsidian's aware of that. Although we have to consider that they did have a more play it safe approach with the Outer Worlds approaching the launch. If you guys don't recall, while everyone's hyped to the high heavens about it now, they were very much dumbing down the idea. It's not open world. It's not a super long game. We want to make sure people's expectations are in check. And maybe that's because Obsidian was a little scared that the industry would sort of blow up in their face about how it was a disappointing game or something along those lines. And they didn't have DLC planned. They just wanted to see if the game would even be received well, would it sell well, would a lot of people play it. And I do imagine that the player base is pretty high thanks to Game Pass alone. But these are just a couple of tidbits that cross my mind in terms of announcement. I'd say it will be before the Game Awards, and maybe we hear a little bit more then as well. It's just a matter of what route they want to take. We'll see, I imagine, in due time if Obsidian does want to announce or release more DLC for the Outer Worlds. I'm personally excited to play more of this game. There's still so many routes I have to take, so many options to see. I've, as I said, been playing my second playthrough, and it's just amazing how much changes based off the things I'm saying, because I'm being more of a meanie-weenie, we'll say, and I'm making choices for the board, and people are not responding all too kindly to it, and I'm really enjoying that. So let me know what you guys are thinking in the terms of DLC ideas for the Outer Worlds. I love to hear them all. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below, along with my Patreon. Do consider supporting that as it fuels all the content I create here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.